Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
And we are live, dude. Which hilarious timing. My dog came down just as it was like 3, 2, 1. So Jackson made his big entrance as well.
What's going on, brother?
Chilling, dude. Chilling. I removed my laptop. Hopefully my camera doesn't. There we go. Dude, chilling. Been did my 2 little early wake ups this morning. Or I did them this week. So right now I'm like slightly sleep deprived. But I got up early. So
what time?
6 o'clock. So I've been experimenting with throwing the early days in. Pretty nice.
Yeah.
I got 2 this week, so I'm going to try to go for 3 next week. It's pretty nice.
Dude, there is something to it. And I don't even want to admit it because my logical part of my brain says, like, no, it doesn't matter. It's just how many hours you're awake for the day. Like, it doesn't matter if you shift those hours later and wake up at 8 or 9 versus 5 or 6. But there is something to it, man. Waking up early and all of a sudden, like, you can get a lot of your game done by 9 a.m. when you wake up at 5 or 6.
Yeah, and at least you get a lot of stuff started too. So like I like know exactly what I'm up to right now, rather than like trying to finish this and be like, oh, okay. Like I've already done, the stuff that I usually work on outside of this, and Matt and Shane Secret podcast. So it's like there's all these other projects I have, and if I can get up early and just like have 2 hours that I dedicated towards nothing else, just on those things, like you're saying in the morning, it's like, dude, it's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So what's going on, man? How'd the week go?
Pretty good. I mean, I can just start from right now. I had for the goals I had in terms of like I wanted to write 4,000 words in the book. I ended up writing something like 3,700. No, excuse me, around like a third of that. So I did like 3,000 words, which I'll take. I have one more workout left. I got my heavy bag and my pull-up bar here. It's going to get set up over the weekend. Used my habit card. I will have 2 learning modules. I will say, I think I almost hit all my goals, man. Besides for like, maybe 1 or 2 I can still get done today. But yeah, all I got to do really is take that cold bath, dude. I've been putting that off. So that's today for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have to do that.
Oh, man. So
that's one of those ones where there's no excuses for that one. I can go take 20 minutes. I'm just being a baby. So
it's understandable though, man. It is understandable.
I'm going to get some sun today too. It's actually kind of warm here in Philadelphia. It's unseasonably warm in Philadelphia.
Oh,
so I'm going to get some sun today and then hit the cold bath.
Nice. Do you know what your score has been on your scorecard? Like A's or B's and points?
Let me see. I can show you that right now too.
And what's up, everybody? Francisco.
Yeah, so I got Monday A+, Tuesday A+, Wednesday A, Thursday A+, and I'm currently at a B, but I will get all the other stuff done today as well.
Oh,
so.
Nice. A+.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see.
Come on, man.
Let me see something real quick.
Hey, okay. The first 2 days, really the live podcast threw me off, man. Once I did that like I got no sleep, and the rest of the week I've been in a grog. But, oh, dude, there is a blank. There's one from the last one. Can you throw another link up for the
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jordan's asking for a scorecard. Let me get it, brother.
But yeah, sorry to answer your question. That was the week. I got all my goals done. We did a 5.5-hour live stream for election night, which was super long. It was fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it was from like 8:30 to 1:30 in the morning. So. But yeah, man, everything's been going well. I will say this too. This morning, I had an interesting experience. So I made myself get out of bed early today. So I was like, my second day, I got out super early, and it's so funny because there's probably guys that get up every morning at 5:30. Like, fuck you, dude.
Oh yeah.
But hey, dude, I used to do it too, and I kind of figured out how not to. For now, we'll see. I'll probably be in a walk-in freezer with you at some point soon. But I swear to God, I'm always ready. But yeah, so I was dealing with this morning. I kind of confronted like what could have been the stuff of a bad day, and it's kind of cool to like, I've been working on this stuff of like really paying attention to how I feel, really paying attention to how I think. And again, I will say that being anchored in some sort of structure just helps me, because usually it's like, like last night I was doing like we were doing that kind of like Cold War fighting, when you're not really arguing, but it's just like nothing. I'm fine. I'm fine too.
I'm familiar with that.
I'm fine too. It's like, well, good then. Yeah. And it's just like, it's like two old countries have been fighting for so long. They don't even bother. It's like, am I even doing this? But I'm just gonna let you know I'm pissed. So like, we're doing that. And good, I will say good on myself. It was like, I immediately addressed it. I was like, dude, like what is this? Here's where I'm coming from. Here's what I'm experiencing. Heard the other side. So, and that's where the active love stuff comes in, where it's like, look, man, you're fucking pissing me off, but I'm still going to be nice. So, so we made up. The whole, the wall's been knocked down again. The Berlin Wall flies up every now and again. Mm-hmm. So, the Berlin Wall was knocked down this morning. But before it got knocked down, I got up early, so I'm just giving you the context. So I got, I read the thing, rolls over in bed, quietly weeping. So I got up early and, stop distracting me. I don't know what side of the Berlin Wall I'm on. I would say the east. I'm on the eastern side for sure. So yes, that was the context of my morning. Like there's like, Cold War fight. I get up early. I start to write. I'm tired. And the writing is like, I'm confronting a part in the writing process where it's like, oh man, there's like, as you write a book, a lot of times there's like new things as you go on to the middle of it. You're like, oh, this would be cool to add to the beginning, because that would make more sense. But I'm like, I just want to finish the first draft. So I'm like, I confronted the reality today that I have to go back to the beginning and add these changes, because they're going to change a lot of the stuff, but also again, make it kind of make more sense. So I'm writing, you spend like 2 hours writing and you're like, God, this stuff, not only does it suck, it's like, I can't use this stuff. I have to go back and fix the stuff in the beginning. Like, otherwise I'm getting too lost. It's not making sense. So I did a lot of writing, I was like, this, fuck, I got to go all the way back to the beginning, which, can be experienced as like negative, like, damn it, this isn't working out, blah, 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 blah. So like, whatever, I just like, all right, well, I'm done. I did my time doing that. And this is where the like timing stuff helps, because I go, hours up. So I got to go to the next thing. So I'm not like there to like ruminate on that. So I go to the next thing. I'm doing what I was telling you for Psych Null, of like trying to align two sources of different materials that explain like a very kind of abstract concept, and trying to align them where it's like, here's a clip from an audiobook that aligns with the stuff from the other book that I'm talking about. So it's like, one of it's more of a scientific approach. The other of it's more of like a meditative spiritual approach. And there's like this, they almost link up almost perfectly. So I'm trying to like, add that together and do that. So I hit a point, long story short, I hit a point this morning where I was just like, what I guess could be described as being overwhelmed, where I'm like, fuck, the Cold War fight's going on. The book, I got to go back to that, sucks. And, it's like this fucking slide is taking way too long. I'm trying to figure it out. And, that could have been, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, damn, dude, that was the stuff traditionally where it would have been like, oh, what's the point? This sucks. But it's like being tied down in this structure for me helps so much, where I'm like, all right, well, I look and I go, damn, I checked all this other shit off. So it's not all bad. Yep. And in my head, I go, then this will be cool when I'm done. So I plowed through and like got the slide stuff figured out. And I also like, I have a new system I'm going to start doing for the writing, go back to kind of more like general storyboard stuff, which kind of helps when I get kind of lost. So I'm like, and solve the Cold War. So I'm like, damn, dude, I was at that Matrix moment. I could have spun into just like, and instead it was just like, looked at all my shit and was like, damn, this fucking rules. I'm looking at all my habits. Like I've been crushing all these. So it's like, again, the thing that helps big time for me is being tied in that structure. And that literally, when people say like, I feel unstable, that's stability. That's external structural stability. To when you start to waver emotionally or feelings wise, you can go, all right, what am I doing here? Okay, cool. And then like, you just, and then like you said before, like, I'll think about this later. And then by the time you go to think about it, you're like, oh, I don't even care anymore. So yeah, dude, pretty cool.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the scorecard allows you to see the wins that you may have not been tracking prior, and also allows you to like to crank out a few more before bed, or if you're in that chaos, it's like, I'm just I'm gonna drink more water. I'm gonna get a little more, whatever it is. So it's helped me for literally, I don't know, probably a decade, something like that. So I'm super happy that other people are starting to use it. But quick question. You mentioned in there doing an act of love despite the fact that you don't feel loving. Can you talk the guys and me through that? Because I think that's super, super powerful. And I think it's really important for all of us to understand that every relationship book that's worth reading says that love is not a feeling, it's an act.
Mm-hmm. Well, dude, this is so funny because I started to laugh as you said that because I realized I had to tell you. So last night, during, it was still like it was early on in the Cold War, and I was like, I'm going to buy a fruitable, like a little acai bowl. And I was like, I'm thinking about, I didn't do my act of love. That's why, again, I have the structure. I'm like, damn, I didn't do anything like that today. I'm like, and we're fighting. So I'm like, I don't want to do one. And it's like, let me I'll buy her an acai bowl just as a nice thing to do because I planned on doing it anyway. So again, I'm not going to let my inner feelings stop from my plan, which was to buy an acai bowl. I'm not going to like be a dick and be like, well, you don't get one now. So I got it. I got the acai bowl for both of us. A little surprise. Just gobbles it down. Just kind of, I'm like looking. Just gobbles it down. Just fucking. No thank you. Just like, oh, cool. Eats it. I'm like, okay. So then because the tensions are still high. So then, like, it was funny because I actually brought that up. I was like, you didn't say thank you for my acai bowl. We were like talking. So long story short, this morning, it was like I got up early just to work. So I'm down here, I'm working, and she's upstairs doing stuff. And it was like, I started to like catch myself being like, I'm gonna stay down here all day and soak, like that. And it was like we were just up in the morning and they were just looking at each other, and I just gave her a hug and kiss, and we're fine. You know what I mean? It's like that simple rather than being like, it's just you don't have room for two of those in the house, man. You know what I mean? As good as it feels to start to participate in that stuff, it's like, what are you doing? I always
just
have to remind
out of
myself.
curiosity, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much did you not want to do the act?
Oh man, 3, possibly 2. But then it was just kind of like, especially when you have a kid, like we're laughing at her, she's doing stuff, and it's like,
yeah,
come on. And I caught myself too with my kid. It's been like, good morning. Like, how was your morning? And I'm like, you little motherfucker. I'm being an asshole. In some level, it's like I could start to spin that in. Again, there's like limitless possibilities for like little revenge, passive aggressive revenge in a relationship. But it's like I think in that book you were talking about, I think that might be one of the 4 horsemen they talk about of the apocalypse, but I don't know which one specifically.
What's the pattern?
Of just kind of get little passive aggressive wins or little like kind of trying to think like I guess like just keeping a little fight alive just because you're like, well, I'm not saying so. I'm right. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and one
contempt.
of the guys,
I think it's contempt. I think
exactly.
It's
so the first one is criticism, but criticism is just kind of like peer-to-peer criticism. Contempt is coming from a place of high and criticizing down.
Exactly. So that's, and it's again, it's funny too to like, I didn't want to do it, but once, we did a hug and I was like, oh, it felt right. If that makes sense. I'm like, all right, fight's over. You can just feel when it's over. It's like, all right, fight's over. So,
yeah. And whoever said criticism, dude, he was on point, like right away. Who was that?
Chupacabra hit contempt.
Oh yeah. How do you say it again?
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra. I'm so sorry.
I think it's the, isn't a chalupa like a food, and the chupacabra is the animal? So it's like there you go, chalupa cross a cabra. There you go, chupacabra.
There you go, chupacabra. He was spot on. He got that real quick. And funny enough, so one of the things that I like to think of is what Charlie Munger talks about. It's not only important to understand the patterns in all the major domains of life. It's important to understand them and be able to reiterate them and regurgitate them very quickly. Does that make sense?
One more time. Say that one more time.
So what Chalupa just did was phenomenal because he was able to identify an actual pattern very quickly in his mind. And the quicker you can identify those patterns, the more effective they'll be. So it's not just about reading the book or understanding that this thing out there exists. It's about being able to, what Charlie Munger says, put that in a mental lattice work in your head and reference it very quickly. Because in the day-to-day combat of life, obviously you can't go back and read the book real quick. It's like, oh, this is happening. This is contempt. I'm doing it. What is the antidote to that? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, dude. I mean, it's kind of like, they're taking in of knowledge, but then like, what's the point if you're not applying it? So it's like, it's kind of like when you paint. You got to paint a house. If a painter just showed up and like dropped paint buckets in your house, you'd be like, well, there's the paint. It's like, all right, dude, put it on the wall. Otherwise, it's like, what's the point of this paint? So yeah, I do think it's kind of, and it's kind of cool too, because I always had a resistance to like just applying models that I don't feel like I came up with, basically.
Yep.
Because you're like, well, that's kind of disingenuous, but it's like, dude, then you start to work stuff out. You do just things another way that aren't completely natural, and it's just like, oh, that works better. And you're like, cool, I can just ditch this other part of myself,
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, regarding, because I used to be the same way. It's like, no, I'm going to create my own stuff. It's like, well, there's billions of people that lived before me, and a few of them have come up with some really good models. So I might as well try. But the cool thing is putting a cocktail effect together. So like, I'll take things from Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, who are the best investors arguably who've ever lived, and then I'll go and look at like a dancer and take that model. Actually, one of the best things I've ever heard, most profound things I've ever heard, and mental model that I use constantly, was actually given to me by a Hall of Fame Broadway dance instructor. I was super lucky to train with him for a while. And he said, look, I want you, and I don't think he made this up, I think he got it from somewhere else, but he said, here's the secret. Most people practice dance until they get it right. I want you to practice until you can't get it wrong. And I was like, whoa, okay. That's a whole different ball game. And like, that was a game changer for me. So being able to take those little nuances from different and mental models from different disciplines, I think is really important.
Yeah, man. No, it definitely helps. It definitely helps, again, just to, like, it's also funny too, like you were saying, there's been a lot of people here. And if you think about it in terms of like, I don't know, the amount of great thinkers there were who have written down their thoughts for everybody over the course of time, of like civilization, the beginning of civilization to now there's like, you would say, I mean, I guess they would fit in like a small suburb or city. There's been, think about how many people have written like just volumes of stuff that like, if anyone reads, they're like, oh my God, these guys spent their entire, these people who were literally geniuses spent their entire lives generating and curating knowledge. And it's like, but for me to be like, didn't pay attention in school, fucked around, can't really speak like 9 languages or, but I think, look, I don't need any outside input. It's crazy. It's just nuts. It's like, dude, or you can just, consult this like vast amount of curated knowledge that exists.
Yeah. Was there what strategy did you use to get your scorecard done so far this week?
I swear to
Was
God,
there any
man.
certain strategy you used?
Yeah, you know what it is? The biggest thing that helps me is my little piece of paper. I like just having like you said, you have your goals out. I have it's like basically like a habit to-do list that I just come down to every day. And it's like it used to be kind of like, well, I'll do this thing here, then I'll do this. And for the most part, it's like my day now is starting to take shape around these little letters of like meditating, journaling, writing. And it's like, they're literally the first 3 things I do now. And it's almost not yet, but it's almost like kind of becoming automatic. So it's like, as long as I start to do those, and then it's like while I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, let me go plug those other ones in too, because those ones are a little more specific. So I just kind of do both.
Yep.
So it's like, I use this to get my day started. And once I'm rolling on this track, I go, let me check that other thing too, because that is part of my my goals of my things for the week is to use the habit card. So it's something I have to see every day, and then I go to that and do that. And that makes me do like, that holds me to my exercise ones, if that makes sense. So,
yeah. So Kevin in the comments said, can we see an example or two of a scorecard item? Yeah, Kevin. So just so you know, bud, I put the link of the scorecard in the questions section of this. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I can read you an example. So Matt, one of the strategies I do, similar to you, is I print out the scorecard. And I might even start printing out several versions of it. So I keep one in my pocket. I'll probably keep one on my desk, and then I fill it in throughout the day. And then I go in each night or the next morning and I fill it out digitally. But having a physical document, I think, is extremely important.
Yeah, man.
And then I'll pull it out. Like, literally, the habit is, as soon as I finish a thing, let's just say I drink a half gallon of water. As soon as I do that, I go and I check it off. So it is extremely helpful. But my next step, like what I'll try for the next week, is I'm going to attempt to get them all done, or 90% of them done, before 10 a.m.
Damn.
And I used to be on that path, and now I'm not. But like, if I can tighten up some stuff, that for me was like when I was like really on a smooth path. Like, can I get this all done before 10 a.m.?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Also, I think Troy asked what time you wake up.
Okay, so great topic. Historically, I've gone through kind of seasons of wake up times. So there was a time where I was waking up at like 4:30 and was on like a super, super tight schedule. So I'd wake up at 4:30, I'd get to the gym by usually like 4:48. Like it was like always like on the dot. And then I'd do my workout. And so on. Here's the problem. That was phenomenal until I started dancing, because then dancing, just by nature, you'd have to go later at night. So I refuse now to basically, I have to get my 8 hours of sleep, which funny story about that this week, which we'll get into a second. Now my goals center around the 8 hours of sleep. Like that is the top goal. So depending on when I go to bed, so typically I try to get to bed around 10. So I'll generally wake up anywhere from like 6 to 7 a.m. And then kind of get my goals done from there. So that's where it is now. Just so you know, I'm not trying to act like I'm some like, all-star at this, because we all will struggle with this forever. So I'm now back on the dating scene, and that has provided a pretty decent hiccup to the sleep schedule. And so that's like very much out of balance for me. Like literally 2 nights this week, I was up until 5:30 and 6 a.m. That really messes things up. And then another night it was 3:30 a.m. But I'm doing it acknowledging that I have certain goals right now that are taking priority, meaning like finding a spouse. Like I'm very much hardcore back on that path. So I'm willing to let it go out of balance for a little while. Hopefully I can recalibrate in the next few weeks, but I'm for sure okay with it right now, just because I have a higher level goal that I'm trying to obtain.
I see you smiling.
Yeah. So
out here being a wild man. No, that's important though, man. Again, that's the on a way less sexier note, it's like sometimes you have to feel when to kind of deviate a little bit, because in my head I'm like, I want to get this like null stuff done. I want to get it done. I'm just going to blast it out. I'm going to blast it out. And it's like, it's obviously a very different thing, but it's like, I'm doing this one slide right now and I'm like, damn, it'd be really cool if I like merged all this stuff and did all. So sometimes, you got to know when to kind of depart and like seek, bigger and better goals within your goals, and when to use this as like, structure versus don't be chained to it, if that makes sense.
Yep. Oh no. I mean, that's why I tell the guys all the time, like I'm shooting for a B. So my last 3, like a consistent B is a long-term A. If that makes sense. Like, yeah. Absolutely. So my last 3 scores, so I got an A on Monday, A on Tuesday, a B on Wednesday, and a B on Thursday. So I've told the guy, from the beginning, I said, like, if I just accomplish 5% of what's on my goals list, like my North Star Vision goals list, that's a win. And the funny thing is outsiders will look at that, because people who are not going with you every single day, it's like, oh, you accomplished this, this, and this. Right? Like Matt, I would look at you and say, like, oh, you accomplished this, you did this, and Philly's Funniest, you wrote a book, like you got this great podcast, all of these things. Well, I'm going to imagine that you're just like the rest of everybody who's performing well. It's like you have a handful of wins among thousands of losses. And I think that's so important for people to hear. It's literally, I think Jeff Bezos talks about it. He says, like, I forget what it is, but like, a few wins will account for like thousands of losses. It's literally almost what I said. A few wins will account for thousands of losses. As long as you don't go bankrupt, right? Like, so we can use that in our lives for sure. But the scorecard stuff is a little different. I'm talking about North Star goals. The scorecard stuff is like, I shoot for a B. I shoot for, 80% and that's great. If you can do that consistently, it's amazing the results that you will have.
Yeah, man. Well, it's because like it's obvious to me now that like left to my own devices, I'll go to the gym hard. I'll do this, I'll do all that stuff. I'll eat well, but it's so for me, I'm like super cyclical where it's like I'll do it for like 2 weeks, maybe a month, and then I fall every single time. I've been doing this for years. I fall off super hard. Stop going to the gym. Start eating kind of just like whatever I want, and it's just like I just go like back and forth. And like you were saying, just having this and like not, you have to be like every single time, but just having this to be like. Just be conscious of the fact that you're not doing it all the time. Like, yeah, I didn't do that, but I'm thinking that I didn't do that. So the chances of you falling off for me are way less way less likely if this is constant in my mind. If I don't have anything I'm tied to, then yeah, dude, I'll fall off from the gym. I do it sometimes where like I don't go for like 4 months or like 3 months. I'll just be like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll go back. And just that like initial momentum to be like, oh, let me get down there. Let me go. It's like, it just isn't, it's just not there. But it's like, that's for me, I'm a big momentum head and I got to keep momentum going. And I have a really good momentum going right now.
Awesome. So. Well, and while we're talking about this, I'd love to see the goals from the guys this week. So Delco Jim said he finished his book club early, made some plans to hit 2 open mics this weekend, and got a raise. That's awesome, dude. I'm super pumped about his progress, man. I talk to Delco Jim, if you don't mind, I talk to people about you all the time. I never say your name or anything just out of respect. But your journey of progress is fucking awesome. And then the other guy, I've seen some other guys. I think Ray may have started a group about push-ups, keeping each other accountable. Like that's exactly what we're here for, man. That's fucking amazing. So great stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Let's see. Francisco says one of my main goals this week is to not have a drink. Hell yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah. Anybody else who's got their goals? Let's put them in. Oh, Ray hung all the art in the new gallery. Hosted birthday party for my boss, clients visiting. Awesome, man. Congrats. What else? Tuesday, Monday, after Thursday. Awesome. Cool. Congrats, everybody. Yeah, keep it going. So one of the things, Matt, I think about the scorecard for me is not only being able to recognize the wins and the momentum throughout the week, but then also it's kind of like self-diagnosing. If I have an issue where I'm feeling a little crummy, like feeling whatever it is, I can look at the scorecard. It's like, oh, I haven't been getting sleep, or I haven't been getting my nutrition in, or I haven't been going to the gym. That's why. And that quick little micro glance at the thing really, really helps me. Because otherwise, I don't know. There's a million variables it could be. What if I'm not tracking it? So it really helps me self-diagnose if there's something off.
Yeah, and it also helps too if you're like a catastrophizer. If like stuff starts going wrong in your head, you're just like, well, let me think of the worst possible scenario this could be, and just be like, oh, it's definitely 100% is that. So I think that was a big thing for me too. Just to be, before I even did the scorecard, that would help a lot. If I felt real shitty, I would be like, I'm just tired. Like it's hard to like realize when you're doing it, but it's like, oh, dude, I got like no sleep. But again, having it, tracking that, and like seeing those red dots in those squares, you're like, oh, dude, I got like just horrible sleep this week. That's all.
Yeah, and it gives you permission to feel that way. It's like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'm supposed to feel that way because I'm supposed to get sleep, or I'm supposed to be eating well, and I'm supposed to be exercising. I didn't. That's fine. If I change those things, I will most likely fix my emotions around it in a couple days. So that delay of judgment for me, as a result of being able to look historically at like my performance in those core areas, that delay of judgment for me has been invaluable for sure.
Well, yeah, dude, again, like I said, it goes to that little thing, the little mental model that I always keep in mind now, because I can fall off harder than anyone in the world, but it's like that commit, slip, quit versus commit, slip, commit, where it's like, I did it, but I just fucked off a week. I don't know what happened. And it's like, that's fine. Just right back, hop right back on the horse, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ray's telling Nick not to quit. I don't exactly know what he's telling him not to quit, but don't quit. I think that's just a good default. Don't quit.
Yeah. I think the Nick man said he had a rough fail. Happens.
Yeah.
Happens.
The amount of rough fails that I've had, public rough fails.
Yeah. Well, it's also, like I said, it's, like again, I was at this morning, I was at the crossroads again, what I was saying, what could have been perceived as a bad day. Because, that's one of those things, like, I'm having a bad day. It's like, already you've told yourself today is bad. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, maybe the morning sucked, or maybe things happened in the morning that you didn't like, but it does, because it's so easy to sink into that. Like, today's just not my day. It's like, I mean, sure. That's your mantra going into the day, this is not my day. It's
right.
Like, I mean, I get, sometimes I've done just had like a series. I'll like wake up and just like bump my knee and then like spill something. And I'm like, fuck.
Well, and
it's helpful to just, sorry, go ahead. What did you say? It's just helpful now, just like, again, just get outside yourself and be like, this is just an experience. Or I just happen to have 3 successive negative experiences. And it's like, it's so easy to attribute all this meaning to everything of like, oh man, I knew and then you start getting like how people can almost think they can predict. Like, I knew something bad was going to happen because something always bad happens to me. And this is just my luck. And it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, that could be, or again, you might be just A, hyper focused on negative events, or B, when the positive ones come, you might just be like, okay, whatever. And just, you're so like aware of bad stuff happening.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, the mental talk around, especially like the secondary mental talk, accurate thinking, I think, is really important. Define exactly what happened, but do not add an extra narrative to that that's going to make it worse. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That keeps us in a state that you cannot perform well. I did some research before on, and I won't be able to articulate this. I'll have to find it for you guys, but I did some research on like what hormones are released in terms of a positive aggression versus a negative aggression. And it's just fascinating. And it all had to do with the psychology around it. If that makes sense. So different hormones are released if you are running away from something, right? Because you think you're going to lose, right? So that produces a certain amount of action, versus other hormones are released if you are going towards it and saying, I'm going to fight this because I know I'm going to win it. So same exact circumstance, but the way you interpret it and your ability to overcome the thing literally biochemically really does different things to your body, which is very, very, very interesting.
So funny, dude. That's so funny you said that. Again, as always, just mentally twinning all week.
Right,
so last week, and this was actually kind of cool. I've been doing a thing too where I've been meditating in the morning, and then I meditate and go right into my journaling. So whatever I'm thinking about, I'll start to write about and, maybe read a little bit about. One of the things that popped up was basically how do thoughts affect our biochemistry? And, here you are. Didn't even have to look into it.
Perfect. Oh, nice, man.
Because I was thinking about that a lot. It's like, dude, it's crazy to think to the level that thought, if you look at the placebo effect, people are always like, oh, it's just the placebo effect. It's like, it's pretty effective though. It's like one of the most reliable constants in all of every medicine, every study. It's like, well, placebo effect coming in at 40%. It's like, It's nothing. It's literally nothing. It's just people thinking and affecting their biology. And it's like, dude, I just, that's something I really want to, because it's like, that's territory you want to kind of go into. And it's like, you can just go right off of a cliff of just kind of like, dude, like, your DNA is not even real. And you're like, what's going on? But, it's like, you start to look at stuff like that. And it's one of those things where it's, and there also is the nocebo effect. You're right. I read about that too, of like, you can have the opposite effect of like, here's the thing that will heal you. And you're like, oh my God, I feel healed, versus like, nothing will ever save me. And your body corresponds. And there was even stuff about people who are, oh man, it was something like either like sick, or people who like were like, oh man, I'm sick, I'm coming down with something, versus people who are just like, body's just working something out. Like the amounts of times they spent sick is longer, something like that. But it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I saw the comment. That's funny. Yeah. So another quick question. How do you feel like you'll perform over the weekend on the scorecard?
Dude. So that was
weekends can be tricky, brother. Weekends can be tricky with diets. Weekends can be tricky with gym sessions, with scorecards. So it's an interesting topic.
So I guess it all depends, man, because it's like weekends for the diets aren't too bad. If I go to my parents' house, sometimes I act like a little bit of a pig. But yeah, I thought about that, because the one thing on the weekend that I kind of give way on a lot is like, am I working on, I don't really do a lot of work, but it's like, I could, because it's like, I want, I'm doing like family time stuff, but it's like, all I would need to do though is an hour of focused activity, which I probably, I can squeak out each day. So I think I'm going to, on the weekend, I'm going to still focus on the health and fitness stuff. But to be honest, to answer your question, honestly, it's like the weekend, I'm not so much worried about, but it's like, I really want to hit that Monday through Friday. I'll still be trying to check stuff off, like drinking water, vegetables, and all that stuff. But the weekends, I'm not too worried about.
Well, how do you feel? One thing I've tossed around in my head for years is removing Sunday from the scorecard.
That's not a bad idea.
Because there is something to it, and I fought against it for years. And there is something to it, like, as much as I don't want to admit it, but there's something to taking that break and keeping Sunday kind of sacred. Obviously, depending on your religious views, like, down the wrong pipe. So there is something to it. And I can say that I have in the past just kind of still kept on Sunday. And I don't think that is, I don't think that's great for long-term performance. I think having a dedicated, definite break off on a weekly basis, and for some reason that biblical ratio seems to work, once every 7 days, taking a hardcore, like, nope, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to pressure myself to perform. I'm just going to relax, have fun, be with friends, be with family, etc. Are you able to talk yet? Because I know sometimes it takes a while to do that.
No, I got crushed with. All right, yeah, no, dude, I totally agree, and I also think because I've done that too, and I've also, I mean, I had a job one time when I was working with my dad and I think my brothers too, but we worked doing demolition 7 days a week in December. We actually worked every day of December besides Christmas. And dude, like, yeah, the days start to kind of blend together. You stop knowing kind of what day it is, and it's kind of disorienting, honestly. And you know, due to like the physical nature of it too, it was like pretty tough. Thank you. But yeah, so yeah, man, it's like I do agree. I agree with that because I remember I've never worked I've always worked 6 days a week here and there, but that was the first time I did. It was 21 days straight of just like hard manual labor. You know, I was getting paid well, but dude, it does something to your life where it's like having a Sunday off where you just like you just say like I'm toss it all away and I'm just going to live my life today. Just I'm going to exist. I'm going to be here and I'm going to get out of this, you know, like go mentality and just enjoy myself. And it's like I do think you need that day of the week to just kind of reap the fruits of your like week's labor in like a small way. You don't have to go like extravagant, you know. You don't got to go to Dave and Buster's or anything, but it's like you know, just. I think there is something to kind of just be like, just to give yourself that like be mode and chill mode. So you're just not always like, because like you said, it wears you down. And then you start to go like, what the hell is the point of all this? What am I, you know, so, so the goal for me is to be able to get myself where I can spend a lot of time in that just be mode. But it's like, I do want to do my work and make sure like I'm earning that, if that makes sense in a way that makes sense to me, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So what are you thinking? What's the call? You think we should remove it from remove Sunday from the scorecard?
Yeah, I actually think that's a great idea. Or like I said, you know what, just remove it altogether because I think that's a more kind of, rather than seeing all those red zeros and all that stuff, that I think that's a better thing to do.
Okay, got it. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So does anybody want to come on? Does anybody have any questions, goal stuff, wins they want to share? Are you cool with bringing somebody on, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Delco Jim, always up for coming on. Man.
Always raising his hand, dude. And I want to follow up with Troy as well because I want to whatchamacallit. Oh, we have a nice little lineup. What up, bro? Jim,
what's up, brother?
What's up, Savages?
Dude, congrats on the raise, man.
Yeah, it's good. Feels good.
Dude, I got to point out because, you know, maybe you won't say it to everybody, but it's like I remember weeks ago, you know, you said, hey, I'm finally starting to set goals and so on. And it's just like, this has to be a function of that. That's my guess, right? It's like, once you get on the path, right? What we talked about before, you know, getting on the path, you know, a bunch of cool stuff starts happening, even if you didn't plan on it. So congrats on the raise, brother.
Yeah, it feels good, man. Feels good. I feel seen.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah. Definitely great. I don't know, just keep setting more and more goals each week. So
awesome. What are a few on the list?
Next on the list is getting my license. That's the top of the list.
Hell yeah. What's the next step for that?
Well, I've been going and driving. Whoever will let me use their car, I've been going driving.
Hell yeah.
So as much as possible. But I don't know. I feel like I'm still recovering from the podcast, man.
Dude, that was an absolute late one.
Marathon.
Yeah, that was late.
When did you guys go until?
1:30 in the morning. It was 8:30 p.m. till 1:30 in the morning. It was like 5 hours live stream. It took the wind out of my sails, dude. That was a rough one. This is a question too. I'm curious about this, Jim. In terms of having, because I know how this kind of makes me feel, but I'm curious to see how this honestly, you know, if it does or if not, doesn't affect you. How does having like being oriented within like, you know, of like checking stuff off and having your actions align with goals, how does that make being at work feel while you're just at like, you know, when you're just at your job?
It like, so like, obviously I don't feel like I'm checking stuff off while I'm here. And it's just, like, I feel like I'm not like, I don't like love like what I do per se, but I don't hate it. So it's like, I don't know. Like I use it as like, oh, well, if I'm here and I'm focused and I do it, I'm able to do everything else. This like funds all my, you know, excursions and goals. So
it's the mother business. That's important
Yeah.
too. It's important to that can give and that's kind of what I'm getting at, which I think has helped me before when I could have a job. Because I've never had a job I didn't like. I was like about. I just hated jobs. I would get a job, and pretty much for the most part, there's a couple of jobs. You know what? I take that back. I kind of did like walking dogs, and I do like painting, but for the most part, I hated all my jobs. And you know, when I had like other goals or other things going on that like I was funding with my job, it did make it seem a little more tolerable for me. I remember just being like, well, you know, yeah, this sucks, but I'm going to get this money and do this stuff I need to plan on doing. You know, that to me, because for me is a huge question, dude. Like, how do you deal with the feeling of hating your job? Because when I am in a job I hate, it's all I can think about. I'm miserable as fuck. And it's like, you know, what's the first step towards transcending that? Because it's so easy to just go like, life sucks, then you die, or maybe I'll retire and sit on a couch. And it's like, you know, it's like, how can you get out of that mode? Because, dude, it's like, it's seductive, man. And there's a majority of people typically in the job being like, kind of like, yes, come here. Yes, come be miserable with us.
It could be defeating, like, if you just, like, sit and think, like, oh, like, this is what I do, like, whatever. But, like, it really isn't. Like, you know, it's not like, who I am. Like, I love my job right now, but, like, since COVID, like, people kind of, like, treat us like shit. Like,
really?
Yeah, it's pretty brutal in here. It kind of sucks. So, like, staying positive is pretty hard because, like, everyone around me is, like, always bitching. And I really don't, because I'm, like, out of here usually. Like, I've been working late this week because I have a lot of hours and I'm training a bunch of people, which I get cash bonuses to do.
Sick.
For those doing what I do.
Yeah, somebody has
so I can.
Yeah, well, here's the question, too. It's like, actually, I think I might have forgotten the question. How? Go ahead. Sorry, I
just feel like recently I've spent a lot of time like dedicating like to writing and reading and doing things that I felt like I made a big thing, like a big list of shit, like of like aspects of my life that I've neglected and just like
hell yeah,
went through it and just like what can I do in the immediate that can change like, you know, how I'm feeling on the day to day. So like my big thing is like taking everything one day at a time, and everything is a marathon, not a sprint. And you know, it's weird. You know, I just feel like recently I've been in such a better place because I've been putting all my thoughts on paper and like, in a sense, like bringing it to life, and as like a physical thing. And being able to like check off little things here and there. It's like an active list. It's like an active inventory of all my bullshit, which kind of rules. And,
yeah.
I don't know.
And Delco Jim, I want to throw something out to you. I'm curious what would happen if throughout your day you filled out your scorecard while you're actually at work, because I think there's a few things here, right? Like you can knock down your water goal. You can knock down silence. You could be meditative even while you're working. You could knock out act of love by doing something good for a coworker. You're obviously knocking out your craft. You can knock out focusing on your goals by taking, I think, what do we have on here? Did you focus on your goals for at least 10 seconds of your goals today? Those types of things. So I wonder what would happen if you peppered in hitting those little milestones throughout the day. So that way it wasn't like a 10-hour break from your
like as far as the scorecard goes, like I definitely like hit my water goals, and like because like I don't, you know, like I've been hitting my sleep goals because it's a conscious effort. Like what I'm hoping is that like I can start to like get more sleep and focus on those things without like having to like drive the message home to myself, you know what I mean? Like make it more like routine. So like, you know, it's a work in progress.
For your water
rather than like
it's a hydrant.
Nice.
Hell yeah, dude. We all got water.
Like, rather than get an Uber home, like I'll walk home and like do little
nice
fitness.
Man.
Oh, dude, that's cool. That you just dropped a big bomb of wisdom on people right there. And rather than getting an Uber home, you will walk home. That's your exercise goal for the day, right? Exercise does not have to be you go to the gym and you crank out like burpees and pull-ups. Like that stuff's cool. Or it could just be you walk home. Like that's spot on, man. I'm pumped that you said that.
So it's funny because I used to go back and forth on walking. I'm like, walking's not exercise. And like, dude, if you consciously, I'm like, I'm going to go walk for like, you know, I'm going to walk. Cause that's, you know, especially if you take a decent walk, dude, it's like, because I was tracking that to be like, is this even like, do you walk for like 45 minutes or so? You burn like 300 calories, something. It's like, it's enough where you're like, holy shit, I didn't know that was that much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, walking
Yeah.
rules, and it's a
I'm
good
also,
it's a good rest day thing too. If I'm like I
also
don't.
counting calories and shit. So
Hell yeah.
it's huge. I don't know. I mean, I just like I feel like in a lot of ways I'm taking control, and I owe a lot of it to like this, and like the people around me. Like it's crazy.
Hell yeah, man.
People are starting to notice. Like rather than end my workday and go home, get high, and fucking slug out and just chill, I fucking have shit I want to do.
Hell yeah.
Shit that I want to get done before I've sit down, and I haven't felt for weeks that I didn't do enough in my day.
That's awesome, dude. That's so cool.
You know what I mean? Like when I sit down at the end of the day, I'm not like bummed out that I fucking wasted a fucking yeah.
Yep, big time.
It's all about, man.
And like I'm making like new friends out there, like fucking Chalupa Cabra. Fucking we met up at the podcast, so.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
No, dude, I can tell you one thing, and I've experienced it this week. When you pull this thing out of your pocket and you check it off, it almost guarantees a question every single time with the people you're with. And that's a gateway into having a cool conversation with somebody. It's like, oh, I'm checking off my goals. I keep this scorecard. And then they ask you about it. And then every single time it's something along the lines of like, oh, like maybe I should do something like that. It's like, oh, you set goals? Like I've always kind of wanted to set goals because it's a weird thing that nobody talks about, but everybody wants to do it. They just need a little bit of leadership. And Delco Gym, I think honestly that you can be that leader for your cohort of people that you work with every day or around every day.
Yeah, I mean, I just try to be like, I don't know, like I try to be positive and I try to focus on myself. Like I never focus on myself. Like I'm always wrapped up in something else, and like I'm on like a self-care mania at the moment.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
and I'm completely off of meds. So
really,
man, that's what's up.
I'm going no meds, no trazodone, no Prozac.
Dude,
yeah, dude.
Haven't killed a single person. Rocks.
How do you feel?
I mean, like getting up in the morning is harder.
Yeah.
Going to sleep is harder because the trazodone will conk you out. Like, but getting off of that stuff, like I've been trying to like ignore the whole like, oh, like when you come off of that, like it's terrible. I haven't really felt terrible. I've cut down my weed intake by a lot.
Awesome, man.
I felt like it was becoming a little bit of a crutch. And I feel like for me, it needs to be more of like a treat.
Yep.
Something that I earn with my hard work.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right. And also too, like I've smoked weed consistently to the point in parts of my life where like not being stoned was in and of itself an altered state where I'd be like, it becomes so normal to you that it's like, what the fuck am I even doing? This doesn't even make sense.
Like not going anywhere until I'm stoned or not doing anything. I don't know. I feel like I mean, I don't think it makes me a different person, but ASB.
That's actually hilarious. Sorry. ASB said I've had edibles but never swallowed. Hilarious. Go ahead. Sorry. Had to be acknowledged.
Yeah, it's just had to be. But I think I'll appreciate it more. Like at a certain point you feel like you're like, I'm just fucking wasting the shit at this point. Like I'm already fucking stoned, but I can't stop fucking token. So it's like,
and the money wise, man, it's expensive. So
I don't make a lot of money. So like when I'm funneling, like I'm paying this fucking drug dealer's rent and I'm sitting here fucking, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Just fucking chilling. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And a lot of things, like, I mean, it's hard. Like I fucking want it all the time, dude. But like, everything is right now is like a conscious effort. When I feel myself like being like, oh, like, man, I really want to fucking get high. I'm like, well, I should write. Like my buddy and I this weekend, we're going to Ortlieb's and I'm gonna go bomb in front of some people.
Hell yeah, dude. That's what I'm talking about.
It's absolutely good rule.
It's also a good motivator too, because it's like, what happens a lot of times are, if you think about like the strong desire to go get stoned, and it's like, I totally understand what you're talking about, but it's almost like we just start to dedicate a ton of our energy to that one thing. And if we can start to allocate some of that energy to like other things, being like, damn, I want to get stoned right now. while I'm in this state of wanting to do this really badly, I'll go do this other thing that I kind of like to do too. And you'll start to divert.
Like I felt like I would be like half-assing what I was doing to get through, to go do what I want, like to go get high. Like I didn't have my heart in it, like, because I'm thinking about going and getting high.
Yeah. No, it happens. And when you're young too, it's, it's a pretty normal thing, but it's one of those things that does get old, and it's like, and it's easy too to kind of give yourself it. Once you start to be like, all right, I'm like, that's cool and all, but I'm going to go try to earn, a similar type of feeling, or like a similar type of state, or just like save that for super special occasions, and keep myself kind of moving, to have myself rewarded rather than just being in like a perpetually kind of stoned state, which, again, it's not like the worst thing in the world. You're not going to die. It's just, it's not optimal in my experience. Some people, I know people who are like lawyers and shit who are like, I'm stoned in courtrooms and it works better for me. It's like, hey man, that's fucking crazy. It's like, I don't know how you do that. Go ahead. Sorry, Jeff.
Oh no. What I found is that like, I'm not like getting excited to go home and get high. Like I want to go home and I want to write about my day, and I want to check, like I want to check the scorecard. I want to see like how I can check stuff off. I want to like,
oh yeah.
I want to go home and I want to read my book. Like I finished my book club book. I'm so excited to meet up with my fucking pretentious asshole friends and fucking talk about it.
Hell yeah.
Dude, you're on it, man. Seriously,
yeah,
I gotta give you credit. Like it's fucking awesome.
Dude, hell yeah, man. Also, the question I forgot, I remembered, but I realized why I forgot it. I was just really like, man, why are people being mean to you because of COVID? And who cares? But I actually am kind of curious now that I think about it. What is the problem with that?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. And, I mean, a lot of it stems from the fact that they're not allowed to sit in our cafe.
Okay.
So I feel like that just becomes our fault, I guess. I don't really know. It's really shitty in here, but Tommy Pope came in here the other day, and he's like related to me through my aunt or whatever, and he fucking gave me some cash, and that fucking ruled because my asshole fucking, like, one of my asshole coworkers was like, what the fuck? And I was like, ha, like, suck it. That fucking ruled.
Well, hell yeah. Well, Jim, dude, keep rocking, man. Keep doing your thing. You're
man.
You're crushing it, man.
Oh, you just super crushed. And dude, I guarantee you that you're inspiring people, because we need inspiration at all different aspects. So I guarantee you somebody's looking at your scenario.
Because if I can even, like, encourage one of the dogs to make a change or two, like, I would be satisfied.
Oh, that's cool,
bro. That's what I'm talking about.
Thanks for being on the team, man. It's an honor to have you on the team, bro.
Yeah, dude.
All right, doggies.
Later, brother.
So somebody had a quick question. They said they asked about the audit of the goal focus. So number 10 on the scorecard is to focus on your goals for at least 10 seconds the day. So mine typically, like my default is looking at my vision board, and I literally count down in my head. I count down, I stare at this thing for minimum 10 seconds. That's what gives me the sufficient goal check off. And then if I have more time, then I go through my goals and read them. So like I got a big document here that goes through like a checklist. Let's see, kind of like checklist style. So I read those. So that's somebody had that question. So I hope that clears that up. It's super simple. It's just refocusing. What are your goals, whether it be in list format or vision board format? I suggest both. Doing it for at least 10 seconds. I also have this next to my nightstand with Matt's little skull that he got me. So I look at those every single morning, every single night.
Well, dude, this is something too. I was thinking about. So again, I've been doing I do like a 5-minute meditation. Just just close my eyes and just kind of try to get to like a state where I'm not even, if I think, I'm just like, okay, I'm thinking, let me just try to like just be aware and just kind of relax. And then like kind of like different types of thoughts tend to come to your mind. And yeah, dude, I started thinking about how, we get instructed on so many different things, like managing money, managing different resources, but like no one ever, it's not in my opinion, at least in my experience, it's not a taught or even like endeavored thing to manage your time wisely. When if you think about your time from an asset level, it's like, it's easily the most valuable thing in the world, man. And it's I think it's like time wise, we come into the world kind of almost like trust funded out, where like, you're like 15, 16, 7, whatever. But like, even in your early 20s, you're like, dude, I got so much time. I got so much. So you just kind of squander it. And then you hit a certain age where you go like, oh man, if I had spent that time doing this. And then a lot of times the next thing people do is go like, oh, well, that sucks. Fuck, man. Why didn't anyone tell me? But it's like, okay. Or if you could, now that you're like kind of a conscious being, because I swear I wasn't a fully conscious being until I was like 30 years old, 33, I would say. But it's like I was more or less like, oh. So it's like, you know, just being like starting to take that as seriously as you do with your money is what I'm trying to say. Of like, how do you structure your time? It's like if you had $100 bills just streaming out of your pockets, dude, for like years, and you're like, oh fuck, man, I could have used those things, you know. So it's like that's how serious I take structuring my time right now. If like, you know, someone like, hey, can I borrow you for an hour? It should be kind of in your head thinking like someone be like, can I get $100?
Yep.
Because like, you know, when you start to make that connection, and you know, you can obviously be generous, but it's